My name is Lydia Simak. Nice to meet you. I'm going to share my screen now and start talking to you. So I'm here to talk to you about working with students of different age. I work at Great Education Center as a Young Learners Academic Director or Director of Studies. So I'm in charge of the department of everyone who is underaged. So today we're going to focus on how to teach these categories. I'm going to share some general information with you, and also I'd like to show you some practical activities that you can do online, because I know that a lot of people have been struggling recently. You can also ask me questions about teaching, about teacher training, because I'm also a CELTAS, CELT-P, and CELTAS trainer. So if you're interested in professional development, you can also ask me questions. I will ask you, please communicate with me. You can unmute, speak. You can ask me questions in the chat. Well, the more you cooperate, so the more relevant information I will provide. So can you please write something in the chat and just write something like hello, so that I could see who's active and who's working with me today. Oh, Olga, hello. Olga Krajewska, I see you. Yeah, nice to see you here. Okay. Yeah. Hello, Anastasia. Okay. Hello, Irina. Hello, Yulia. Thank you very much for writing in the chat. Okay. Hello, Yulia. Hello, Lena. Thank you very much. Great. Oh my God, really? That's a shame. Okay. So guys, thank you very much. Please be active, participate. You can unmute and speak. You can drop questions or comments in the chat. Please do so. The more active you are, so the better the training will be. So first of all, before we actually start the training, let's play a little game. It's called Me Too. I'm going to share some facts about me. And if you feel that you do feel the same as I do, can you please unmute and say me too? Or you can just give me a thumb up as a reaction, or you can write your answer in the chat. Okay, are you ready? Please do it. So the first fact about me is I teach kids.
Me too.
Thank you. Who else? Give me a reaction or unmute and say me too. It's easier to say, actually. Thank you. Okay, next fact about me. I teach teens. Say me too if you do. Oh, thank you for your reactions. Next fact about me. I like teaching kids.
Me too.
Thank you. Thank you. Great. Thank you, Anastasia. Next fact. But I like pre-teens and teens more. Who's with me? Okay, mostly people like teaching kids. That's good. Next fact about me. Teaching kids sometimes makes me stressed.
Me too.
Okay, thank you for being honest. One more fact. I use flashcards a lot in my YL class.
Me too.
Thank you, Anastasia. Thank you for your hands, guys. Next. I like zero preparation lessons. Everyone should say me too now. I don't think anyone likes preparing a load for classes. Okay. One more fact. I sometimes pretend to be a native speaker when I teach small kids, like 7-year-olds, and they fall for it and they believe me. Have you ever done that? You can give it a try. It actually works pretty well. It doesn't work with older kids because they kind of understand that I look like a Ukrainian, that I have a Ukrainian name. But if a kid is 7, it works. Okay. So we have just experienced the activity, which is called Me Too. Guys, what kind of activity is that? Oh, sorry. Maybe you haven't noticed. So can you unmute and say, or can you drop your answer in the chat? What was it? Any?
Like icebreaker.
Yes, exactly. That was an icebreaker. And next question, why bother doing icebreakers at all? Is there point in doing them?
Like to make students feel comfortable.
Exactly. So this icebreaker, right? So now you know some facts about me. You don't know anything kind of private or anything special, but it's easier to work with a person when you find out something about them. So icebreakers are very important because they enable to help students. They enable students to actually work with each other and interact, because this is not a stranger anymore. You know something about this person. Okay. Next question. Why is it important? In a real classroom, you see that there is a picture, there is a high five. So people actually need to say me too, and they need to give a high five to a speaker. Why is it important to give those high fives in real classroom when you have contact with people? Any ideas? You can drop in the chat what you think, or you can just unmute and say if you like. Okay. Yeah, Olga, hello again. Yeah. Okay, maybe someone's typing now. So to make it a bit quicker, I can say that it's very important to help people when people make those physical contact. This is nothing special, just a high five. You can use a sanitizer and sanitize kids' hands like after they do those high fives, so it's not dangerous. But when they make that physical contact, it makes them comfortable, like physically comfortable working with each other. That's why there are a lot of team builders and icebreakers when people have to not only cooperate and communicate, they also need to somehow touch each other, touch hands or hold hands. It really, really helps students feel more comfortable working with each other. Those physical contacts are very important. It doesn't mean that you have to make people hug each other the first time they meet, but holding hands or high fives, this is a safe option, and it makes people much more comfortable working together. Okay, so please practice icebreakers and team builders in your class, because if you want students to talk to each other, you need to make sure that they feel comfortable talking to each other. Okay, we can get to the main topic of the webinar, wild characteristics as language learners. So today we're not talking about teaching adults at all. We're talking about everyone who's school age. I can explain why. I do not work with preschool kids. I will only work with 6+. And I'm responsible for the department which teaches school-aged, like school children. And we're going to concentrate on that category. But this category is huge because like 6 and 18, this is a huge difference. So there is a lot to talk about. And my first question to you is, what are the main categories of young learners? You can see 3 pictures here. So these pictures will help. So can you please unmute and say, or drop in the chat what you think about it? What are the main categories of young learners? What is the first one? Yeah, thank you, Yula. Teens, exactly. It's going to be the last category, right? What else? Who else? Apart from teens. Come on, be brave. Yeah, preteens, thank you, Yula. And one more category. The smallest ones. Yes, very young learners. Okay, Irina, I can tell you that like very young learners, they are considered to be preschoolers. Today, we're not going to talk about preschoolers because I don't work with preschool kids. I don't know how to teach them. Like I know some theory, I've never done that. So we'll start talking about kids, and they're about 6 to 10-year-olds. Then pre-teenagers or younger teenagers, they are about 10 to 12. And teenagers, because we're talking about school children, so it's going to be 13 to 18. Can I ask you, like teachers, Why such a division?
Yes.
So why such a division? Why 6 to 10 and then 10 to 12 and then 13 to 18? What is the main, what happens to people? Why we divide them into such 3 groups? Any ideas? Can you please drop your ideas to the chat or unmute and say if you're brave? Okay. So we can play actually a game while you're thinking. So the main reason for having attention. Yeah, Olga, I agree with you, but I would say that what you say, this is the consequence of the main reason, but that's a very good observation. Thank you. So I will help you. I'm going to give you letters. So the first letter is P. Any idea what happens next? P, U, B. Come on. What's happening to people?
Puberty.
Yes, thank you. Exactly. Thank you, Eugenia. So it's puberty. So what happens at the age of about 10, children start having some hormonal changes. It's not puberty yet, but they're getting older, they're growing, and their attitude to their peers, to boys and girls, they change. And their bodies start changing. And so they start getting some puberty, some, those those hormonal changes, basic. And those hormonal changes, they cause development of their, of their brain and so on. And they start getting abstract notions. So that happens at 10. Until that, of course, 6 and 10, this is huge difference, but these are kids who haven't faced any puberty yet. When we talk about 10 to 12, so this is the period when these hormones, they start affecting the body and the way of thinking. And this is the period like in between kids and teenagers when they are still kids, but their bodies are changing. And so they're changing a lot. So they're getting more puberty. This is a more active period. And when we talk about teenagers, so they start looking like, adult people more. But this period of transition from kids to teens, it's over. So they just have to face, huge hormonal changes and so on. So they start getting, becoming adults slowly at that age. And all the 3 categories are very different. And because of that, because they're different, so they require different attitudes in teaching. So the first category, I decided to take pictures from Harry Potter. This is the safe option. So this is what typical kids look like. And can I give you a minute and ask you to drop some ideas to the chat? What are the main features of kids as learners? For example, a short attention span, you have already mentioned that. And they're very easily distracted. Can I ask you to drop more ideas to the chat about kids? I remind you that we're talking about 6 to 10-year-olds. Curious. Yes, thank you, Yana. Exactly. What else about kids? Like to play. Exactly, Marina. This is very important. Thank you. High speed of perception. Well, Yelizaveta, can you specify what you mean? They are fast learners. They learn fast. They understand fast. Or is it because they learn kind of basic things? So that's why. Yeah, they repeat fast, exactly. So they cannot, I see what you mean. So you mean that they don't like sitting for a long time, they need movement, probably. Yes, they want to have fun, Olga, exactly. Yeah, Elizabeth, you want to specify, they don't question you. Yes, they trust you blindly. This is very, very important because you are the authority for them, and they trust you blindly, and they actually love you usually by definition. So this is very indulging to teach kids in that way. Yes, they don't analyze, I agree with you. And yeah, Tatiana, weak motivation. Say yes, they do not feel the need to study. Definitely. So the motivation is something else. Oh, they are naughty. Yeah, Marina, sometimes they are naughty. Active, short attention span. Yes, Yana, thank you. Totally agree with you. So you have covered a lot of important things. I'm going to add to that list. So some of the things are going to be the same as you have mentioned. There will be something probably we haven't mentioned here in the chat, and we're going to just discuss it here. Yes. Kids need a lot of movement to control energy balance. So they get tired easily and they get excited easily. So, and if you want them to last long, and actually kids can learn for 90 minutes, and that's true. With a short break, sometimes even without a short break, if you change the activities often enough, not every minute, like, but as soon as you see that they kind of lose concentration or they get overexcited, if you change the activities from settler to stirrer, kids can actually learn very long. And if there is an activity that they really like, they can do it much longer than is expected from their attention span. All right, guys, if you have questions, you can always drop the questions to the chat. Please remember that. So next, they need boundaries and routines. Can you imagine a young learner's class without rules? What does it look like? You can write in the chat if you have an association. Yes, it's a chaos. I would say it's an Armageddon as well. So kids need strict rules. It's not because we're bad and not because we want to avoid chaos, but kids cannot learn if there are no rules. They need boundaries because they feel safe in the boundaries. They need to understand what's going on, what's going to happen, and strict rules, clear rules that are followed by everyone, like clear procedures. They know what to expect, how the class starts, how the class finishes, how we do this activity and that. So this is what makes students calm, relaxed, and this gives the safety feeling. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't have surprises in class, yes, but the surprise, it should be within the frames of the rule. It can be a new game or a new character or something like that, but the rules have to be the same. They have to be followed every time. They cannot be changed. Otherwise, you will have a chaos in your class. So this is very important, very strict rules. And you need to start getting your children used to those rules and talk about the rules as soon as you start the classes. So this is the safety net, the safety feeling. Okay, next, students need motivation and praise. This is very important. It doesn't mean that you have to indulge the kids all the time, and we will talk about motivation a little bit later, but children, they need praise because you are the authority for them. The teacher is the God, and they need to be appreciated. So they need your attention. They need to hear from you that you love them. I mean, that you value what they do and you value them as people. So this is very important. Motivation is also important because, as somebody has already mentioned in the chat, the motivation is weak. They don't understand that they will have to enter a university in 10 years. Come on. But they know what is interesting. They know what is fun. So the motivation is different. The motivation is fun, games, and so praise as well. So this is the main motivation. Next, they learn through TPR and games. Can you please drop to the chat what is TPR? What does it stand for? I know there are expert young learners, kids who know what it is. Yes, thank you, Elizaveta. This is total physical response. Okay, I'm going to give you an example a little bit later, but students, kids remember better when they move. movements, body movements, they help remember better. So total physical response, this is a must. I'm going to show you a little bit later because I have prepared a couple of activities to use online. Okay, guys, if you have questions, please remember, you can always address me in the chat. Please don't hesitate to do that. You can unmute and say something as well. Okay, kids need a lot of support. They need a lot of visuals, songs, audio, video, gestures, pictures, because they cannot accept abstract notions. Translation doesn't work very well. So they're kids. They need context in the lesson. The context is usually a picture, a song, a video, your gestures, like, and so on, your facial expression. So they need a lot of support. They know very little language. So, and this is how they understand a text or a video or what's going to happen and so on. Okay, one more important thing to say, and this is something that you need to realize as teachers, and your parents also need to understand, that kids who are 10, they cannot master the language and they cannot get a higher grade, higher level than A1 plus. Genius kids, like super kids, can be A2, but usually they cannot learn higher levels because their minds, their brains, they haven't developed yet. They cannot get those, abstract notions. That's why even if your kids learn English every year, like starting from 3 years old until 10, they can only get A1 maximum, and rare it's A2. So it's impossible to get a higher level. That's just impossible. And every kid's course book line, usually there are like 5 or 6 books, and the maximum level is A2, because kids cannot, unfortunately, they cannot master a higher level unless probably they live with the native speakers' parents, like they have a bilingual family. Still, so I really doubt that. Okay, do you have questions about kids? If you do, please tell me or drop a question to the chat. Thank you. The question from Elizabeth: in this age, do we have types, the visual? Yes, I would say that most of them are kinesthetic. Some of them are more kinesthetic, the others are less kinesthetic. There are some, and they are very visual as well. Sometimes, this is the majority. I've had a couple of kids who were surprisingly different. For example, I had a kid once, I had to teach them face-to-face. It was like 12 years ago. And he hated drawing, and he was 6. It's like, how can I teach them? So he hated drawing. I couldn't give them, the drawing practice for motor skills to give him some rest. I had to figure out what to do with him. He hated doing that. He didn't write, he didn't draw. So sometimes there are such kids, but usually they're kinesthetic, some of them more, some of them less, very visual, rarely audio. Sometimes they hate drawing. Sometimes they hate singing. There's also a bad situation. I've had such a group with kids who couldn't sing and didn't want to sing. I couldn't exploit songs, and that was terrible. Yeah, yes, you're right. I see your face. I've seen lots of them. Most of them, if you're lucky, kinesthetic, visual. If you're unlucky, hate singing, don't want to write, don't want to move. Well, usually they do. Okay, so let's talk about preteens. I remind you that this is 10 to 12. Again, can I give you a minute and ask you to drop some characteristics of preteens to the chat? For example, attention span still short, but it's increasing, it's getting better. They can sit for a longer time and they don't need to move all the time. Any other characteristics? Can you please drop something, what you think, to the chat? Or unmute and say. I see that Elizaveta is thinking. Yes. Thank you for switching on your camera. I can see your reaction. It really helped me, Okay. A little bit more motivated, maybe. Maybe I would say that their parents start nagging them more about the marks. Yes, probably Probably they are more motivated. The motivation is different. We will talk about laziness. Yeah, Tatiana, sometimes they're terribly lazy. Yeah, we'll talk about it. I see you also have stress sometimes with kids. I'm not the only one. Any other ideas about preteens? What is different? What makes them different from kids? Because they are different. Like 9 and 12, they cannot work together. That's impossible. Although it's only 3 years difference. Okay, I'm going to show you what I have prepared. If you agree or disagree, if you want to comment on something, please let me know. Rebellious. Well, Tatiana, they start getting rebellious. Yes, we'll talk about this. And so first of all, preteens, they are obtaining the ability to analyze and understand abstract notions. So their brain, it starts working in a different way because of those hormonal changes. It's getting more mature. They start getting abstract notions. That's why it's possible to teach some, say, not that obvious things like conditional sentences, for example. A kid will never understand a conditional sentence. They can they can use it as a chunk. For example, if it rains tomorrow, if it's sunny tomorrow, yes, but they do not understand. They do not have that deep understanding. For preteen, you can actually explain and they will understand. So they start getting abstract notions. It's easier to teach them because of that. Next. So what's the main change? I told you that they start getting puberty, and because of that, the peers' opinion is getting more and more important. They actually start getting interested in other people and what they think about them. And it is getting really important. And the motivation, because you've mentioned that their motivation is different. It moves from fun and game to communication. So their peers' opinion is getting more and more important. They start thinking about their bodies. They start like thinking about looks, and so it's different. And they switch from games to communication, and they still need praise and encouragement. The teacher is not a god anymore. Honeymoon's over, but if they respect you, if they love you, they will adore you. And they will want to be teachers' pet, and but still, they start touching the boundaries. They need boundaries, but they start pushing the boundaries and checking, like, you see, can I do that or can I not? And they start misbehaving occasionally just to try if they can. And with teens, I actually love teaching preteens. I know that a lot of people hate doing that because this is a so-called that crazy, unpleasant age. When they're not, one of my colleagues, she said a wonderful thing, that they are over children, but under people. So this is fun. I actually love them because I can keep the discipline very well. And I love them because they get more interesting than just kids. Okay, they still enjoy games, but start behaving in a more mature way. And also, they enjoy adult responsibilities. For example, they enjoy getting the teacher's role. Teens hate it, like, why should I do your job? Kids, well, maybe, but it's more like nagging you. It's more like a game. When we talk about preteens, I adore making them teachers because they really get it serious and they really enjoy that. For example, I never check the homework myself. My preteens always do that. So I can tell you later how I do it if we have time, but this is the category that loves adult responsibility, like checking someone's work and so on, helping the teacher. One more thing, because they get, their development is different, the puberty affects their bodies and minds, so they can master a B1 level and even B1 plus, but not complete. So this is the good news, because they actually, starting from preteen, starting from the puberty, children start learning faster and they master the language faster. It's not the kids who have to spend like 6 years mastering A2. In 2 years, they can master B1 plus. This is very, very cool. Okay, any questions about preteens? Okay, I will be watching the chat, and if there are questions, I will answer them. We're talking about teenagers. I know that some, thank you, Yulia. So again, I will give you 1 minute. Can you please write down their characteristics of as young learners, as learners? What is the difference between teenagers and the others? For example, attention span is actually okay. They can do things for a long time, but they get tired really easily because their bodies are growing and they're growing really, really fast. Okay, I'm giving you 1 minute, 30 seconds to drop what you think about teenagers as learners in the chat, please. This is, by the way, also one of my favorite categories, but I like preteens a little bit more. They're not that moody. Елизавета, thank you. They're very busy with their person. Yes, actually they start, their personal life is, it's blooming.
Not much time for any English.
Exactly.
English?
Yes.
No.
I would say that they start getting adult problems and they don't know how to face them and how to deal with them. And that's why they sometimes do not have enough energy for learning. Okay, Yulia, thank you. Can easily understand abstract. Yes, Yulia. I love teaching teens because it's easy to understand abstract things. Olga, they're interested in serious. Yes. So their topics, it's not unicorns anymore and Peppa the Pig, but it's something more interesting, more serious, so whatever. So some society problems, modern trends. So it's actually interesting to talk to them. They sometimes have crazy but cool opinions. Okay, what I can add to the list? They are often moody, sleepy, excited, anxious, angry, reserved, etc., etc., etc. I sometimes had teens who came to my class and just did like this. And they were lying on the desk. And I was just looking and say, okay, I have to teach a class and I have a teen who is lying on the desk and that's it. Well, I can say that I managed, but I had to do some crazy things and, very funny things just to change their mood. Yes, they pretend to be mature. Tatiana, I absolutely agree with you. I would say that they do not pretend to be mature. They think they are mature. This is very important about teenagers. They hate when you do baby talk to them. They want to be treated like adults. And this is very important. If you do not treat teens like adults, they will hate you and they will never respect you. So you have to respect them. You have to show respect. You have to treat them as equal. You have to be the authority, but you cannot treat them as kids. They hate it. Okay, they are learning to control their emotions, but they cannot identify them properly. They have a lot of strong emotions. It's interesting about teenagers because they still cannot control them properly and they still cannot understand what they feel and how and why. So it's very interesting and you can actually explore that and you can help teenagers understand what's going on with them if they're happy, if you have some connection with them. On the other hand, they have very strong boundaries and please do not try to find out more than they allow you because they will hate you or they will close up and never open to you. So yeah, it's always like walking on broken glass, but yeah, I love it. They want to be treated seriously and they can be rebellious. So yes, it's with preteens, it's easier, I would say, with the discipline and rules. With teenagers, they have to respect you in order to learn from you, unfortunately. But with all the three categories, it's very important to have very clear rules. Without rules, without clear boundaries, you will never have good classroom management and order in your class. Okay, with preteens, yes, they can start getting problems with their classmates. With teens, it's getting worse. And because they get the abstract notions, they can master their language to B2 and even sometimes C1. Although C1 requires more mature approach and more mature thinking. So I wouldn't say that this is the real C1, but they can move from B2 towards C1 with some exceptions. But the normal level they can master and they can do it really well. This is a good B2. Okay, any questions about teenagers for now? Okay, if you have questions, please drop them and I will answer them on the way. So let's talk about classroom management. So very important things. So there have to be very clear routines. Without clear routines, in any class, you will have problems, definitely. Clear rules and boundaries. If somebody starts misbehaving, you have to point to the rules. You have to follow the rules. Do not break the rules. Do not let your students break the rules. You will have much fewer problems in your class. This is very important. Motivation. Students have to be motivated. It could be different things. My prior belief as a teacher is that you have to, so it has to be relevant and interesting for your students. And then if it doesn't work, you can think of some motivation systems. I can tell you the truth. When I teach kids, teenagers, and so on, very rarely I have to invent some motivation tricks. With kids, yes, you have to give them stickers, stamps, and so on, little things. But starting with preteens and teens, I don't really have to use a lot of motivation systems. But if you have to, we will talk what you can do a bit later. Rapport. If you don't have rapport, I don't understand how people can teach without rapport. I just doesn't work. So if you have no contact with students, no reaction, no response for them, no classes, no learning happens. Like, this is my belief again. Next, you need to address the needs and issues in time. So on time, I would say, not in time. So you have to talk about things that are relevant, and you have to address the needs of the students. If you don't do that, again, learning doesn't happen. Atmosphere in class is very important. If it's toxic and they hate each other, no one will learn. If you do those icebreakers, team building, and if your students are busy doing relevant practice, the atmosphere will be good and they will learn. I've had experience when I was a school teacher. That was very long ago, about 10 years ago, I think. I had a class of 12-year-olds. They were in the 7th form. I was a school teacher. And at the beginning of the year, everything was okay. We were working, it worked well. And because I was teaching English, I only saw a third of the group because I worked in a specialized school, but when the class was divided into 3 parts. But then something happened after the new year, and something was going on in class. They didn't want to learn. They started being very cynical and cold, and they could give very snide comments about anything and giggle and so on. I didn't understand what was going on. And it was almost impossible to teach them. But then I found out there was a problem in the class, but not in my group. So there was a new girl, who joined the class in the middle of the year. And she was very beautiful, and a lot of boys fell for her and fell in love. And because of that, some other girls in the class, they got jealous and they started bullying her really, really bitterly. I had this girl in my group and a lot of boys, like there were only 2 girls and many boys for some reason. And I didn't see that bullying. I saw that something has changed, like all their relationship changed. I didn't understand what was going on because I didn't see the whole class. And there was a really serious problem, and they had to have some lessons with a psychologist. And if I had seen the whole class, I would have noticed, I would have approached the class teacher or did something, but I didn't understand what was going on. Come on, what happened to the kids? So sometimes bad atmosphere spoils everything. There could be a conflict of 2 children in class, but because they're strong leaders, for example, the other kids, they can follow their example, and there can be a terrible situation. So that's why atmosphere in class is very important. If you see that something's going on, you have to try to understand and prevent or solve the problem, because it's only going to get worse with teenagers. Okay, they need a lot of parent group work. They love communicating, talking to each other. They do it happily and gladly. Also, dealing with misbehavior. So there might be, you have to deal with misbehavior. You cannot just forgive it. because it's only going to get worse. I know a couple of teachers who have problems because they are not leaders in their class, because there is a student who rules the class and rules the teacher, and the teacher is trying to comfort this person so that they do not spoil lessons. And this is a terrible situation. You have to be the leaders in your class. If you're not the leader in your class, you cannot teach the students normally. The leader student can allow you teach them sometimes if you behave. So it's a terrible situation. The teacher has to be the leader of the class. And of course, you have to always check the homework, because if you do not check it, what's the point in doing that? And also, if you check the homework, you will see if students have problems, and you can address the problems at the beginning of the class. Explain something one more time, or prepare some practice activities if they have problems with something they haven't learned. So these are the most important points in classroom management. If you have questions, you can ask for detail, and I can go deeper talking about something. Okay, when we talk about teenagers, so sometimes they just do not study. There are several reasons. My favorite is boring. This is my favorite reason, because this is it's actually difficult to deal with. Then they don't see any value in it, and they don't feel comfortable working with their peers. When we talk about comfortable working with their peers, you have to do icebreakers and team builders. When they don't see the value, you have to explain what the value is. There has to be a goal. For example, passing a Cambridge exam or something like this. There are options to give students motivation to learn English. When it's boring, it's more difficult, but there are ways to deal with that, because I've had a lot of boring teens, so I have some experience. So first of all, you have to give them enough challenge, and you have to provide them with some reward, but it has to be balanced. Too much reward will spoil everything. Too much challenge, they will not deal. Too little challenge, too easy and boring. So you have to be careful with how much you challenge your teens, but you have to challenge them, otherwise they will not learn well. This is what I did with my students. This is my student Andriy. It was my class a couple of years ago. So what do you think we were learning and revising? Can you drop in the chat, or can you unmute and say? What do you think my lesson was about? Yeah, vocabulary. Yeah, Irina. Yes, Eugenia, body parts. So it was for body parts, and it was actually, I saw that they were bored on that day. So I found a volunteer, and I gave them 2 minutes to brainstorm all the body parts they could remember and stick them to the volunteer. So it actually worked pretty well. Which means that you can do some usual stuff. This is a usual brainstorming, just remember the body parts. But because you change something slightly, you sometimes make it more fun. Again, if you look at Andriy, he is not ashamed or embarrassed. He allowed me to take his photograph, which means that I didn't make some teen to be a model and be, for the stickers, but I found the teen who would be happy to be that model. So do not make them do what they will find embarrassing, because otherwise they will hate you. Okay, so what you can do when it's boring, you can do running dictations, interesting challenges, competitions. By the way, with teenagers, competitions work very well. With kids, sometimes it can cause tears. Be very careful with competitions. I do not do competitions with my kids, for example. Okay, kinesthetic activities. Again, instead of just writing down the words, I asked them to write them on stickers and stick them to Andriy. It was very kinesthetic, and they loved it. They need to move. I sometimes, with my students, sometimes I allow them crazy things. So we do usual, normal, boring stuff, but because I change something, they love it more. For example, I will stop sharing and I will show you something, and they will start sharing again. So I stop sharing. If you look here, this is a cushion. I was sitting on it, and at grade, we have such cushions on chairs. And when my kids behave, when my teens behave, for my teens, I allowed a 30-second pillow fight. When they were getting bored, I allowed them a 30-second pillow fight. Sometimes I extended it to 1 minute. They were extremely happy. And after that, they had 15 or 20 minutes of very productive lesson part, just because they had this pillow fight. So it doesn't mean you have to allow all your teens to fight with pillows. So I didn't allow them to do that on the first or in the second lesson. I did it after Christmas, after I found out a lot about them, about their rhythm, what they need, what they liked, and I knew it was safe. So pillow fight, this is what I did with my teens. It worked really well. When they had to do something boring, I allowed them to take those pillows and sit on the floor. Instead of sitting at desks, they were sitting on the floor. For example, they had some cards and they had to take a card and do some activities. Some of them who liked it, they were sitting on the floor. Those who didn't want to sit on the floor, they were sitting at desks. But sometimes, because I allowed them to sit on the floor, they actually did the activity they usually find boring. So do something, allow your students to move. Sometimes you can do really silly things, but your students, it will give them a shake, you know, from boring, from a boring day at school, from a more boring exercise you do in your book. 30-second pillow fight. Yeah, we can continue working. It doesn't mean that they did those fighting every lesson, but like once every 2 weeks worked like heaven. One more things I wanted to show. So these are the kids I was teaching, and they were very problematic. They had had 3 teachers before me. I was the 4th one. And all the teachers before me, they had bad experience. For some reason, they were just unlucky with teachers. So the teachers were new, inexperienced, and the group was difficult. And they didn't want to work. And when I came to them, it was, I think, April. And they started asking me something in their language. I said, speak English. I heard a very interesting response. Но мы еще маленькие, нам можно говорить по-русски. And I like, wow, I'm very happy with those kids. So I had to find something to teach them well. That was one of my successes, because usually I had bad lessons, but sometimes I had a good lesson. That was a good lesson. Why do you think it was good? What made it good? Any ideas? You can drop your idea in the chat. Or you can just unmute and say if you want to. I have some response. Yes. Exactly, Elizaveta. I allowed them to take off their shoes and sit on the windowsills. They didn't react to carpet. They didn't care about the carpet. Carpet didn't work. Okay, okay, carpet doesn't work. Happy. But the windowsills, because the previous teachers did not allow them to sit on windowsills, I sometimes, again, doesn't work every time. It's like eating too much sugar. You stop reacting to it. I occasionally, like once a week probably, I allowed them to sit on windows to do 1 or 2 activities. They loved it. And I can tell you that they were doing this activity. It was pair work. They had to describe, they had a picture with a lot of characters. They had to describe a character, and their partner was listening and guessing. They were working for 15 minutes. To me, it was like, oh. And I even had a chance to take pictures of them, because nobody.
Sometimes when you allow them something different, they would go further and stop, for example, fooling around the windowsill, I don't know, standing and looking at the window, something else.
I totally agree with you, but I said, guys, if somebody misbehaves, that will be the last time you're on real windowsills. Okay. No problem, okay? So again, you have to be very strict boundaries, I told you. It doesn't mean a strict teacher, it means very clear rules, the rules of the game. If you have those rules, works very well. Okay, I wanted to talk to you about praising, because do you think there are any problems with praising ever, or you cannot overpraise? It's okay to praise. You can drop what you think in the chat. I have comments. Yeah, too much, too little. Thank you, Elizaveta. Yeah, guys, if you give kids, yes, irrelevant to personal. Yeah, exactly. If you give kids stickers, for example, just because they did something, but they didn't try very hard. Is it a good idea? Will it, let's say, there will be a if you give praises for every teeny tiny thing that the kid did in a class, there will be a devaluation, and the praise will not be a praise. A praise has to be well deserved. For example, I like little stickers and little stamps. I never give more than 2 or 3 to one kid in a class, just because they stop valuing them. It doesn't work. So to me, so praise has to be well deserved. You have to be very careful with praise. Otherwise, it will stop being praise. One more thing. Overpraising leads to taking it for granted, and it has to be fair, because sometimes you want to give stickers to a kid who has no stickers because they feel upset. Well, the other kids, they notice it like this. If something is unfair, there will be a scandal in class. So you have to be very careful when you help someone earn a praise. You know how to do it. It has to be concealed from other kids, so that they think that the kid really deserved the praise. Otherwise, you might have a quarrel in the class. Okay, again, if you have questions about praise, you can drop them in the chat. I wanted to show you something that I do online with kids. I think it will be probably one of the most relevant things in our seminar. Please be active, please unmute, please talk, because I will need you. So the first thing that you can do, what's this? Unmute and say.
Socks.
It's a sock. I have a pair of socks for my kids. This is Mr. Spot. It has spots. And what do you think the name of this sock is?
Mr. Mushroom?
Yeah, Mr. Mushroom. I have Mr. Mushroom and Mr. Spot. And I can give conversations to my kids. So I demonstrate dialogues using Mr. Mushroom and Mr. Spot. I'm a little bit lazy, but what you can do is you can actually sew a couple of, like something that remains like ice, or you can do them. Yeah, I sometimes wear these socks. I actually love them. That's why I don't do that. But these are the socks that I use if I have to teach kids to show dialects. I do not feel very comfortable with puppets. I know that some teachers do. I also use toys. I have a couple of toys that I use, but I use them for other reasons. I will tell you for what reasons. So first of all, this is the first thing. The second thing, you can ask students to, you can ask the parents to spare a sock. That will be a sock for learning. And you can ask them to take a couple of plastic cups, plastic plates, and some markers. The markers have to be board markers, not the markers that you cannot erase. And you can have dictations. For example, write, so what is the biggest animal on earth? 5 seconds, and children write and show you to the camera. After that, what happens? Okay, they take their sock and they erase it. I'm not going to do it. I love the sock. I don't want to wash it, but they take the sock. So the sock is on the hand that they do not use for writing, and they can clean what they have written. And so this is what you can do. You can use plastic plates, you know, for writing something on either hand or either side. So it doesn't really matter. One of the things that I also use, it's sometimes difficult to have a motivation system with kids because you cannot give them stickers, you cannot give them stamps. I haven't tried it myself, but I gave this idea to my teachers and some of them have tried this. What you can do is you can have a jar. You can ask them to find a jar, like to spare a jar for learning English. And you can ask them, their parents, for some cheap pasta. My pasta is like this. And every time they get a praise, you can ask them, okay, you can drop a pasta piece to the jar. This is your personal jar. You can drop a pasta piece when I tell you. And for example, when they reach a certain level of their pasta, They can have, I don't know, a movie night or something like this. So, or they can, sorry, there can be some kind of shopping. So you can think what you can do when a kid has like half of a jar or the whole jar or something like this. So they can have their personal, you know, motivation jars instead of the class motivation jar. Or you can have your jar when you drop a piece of pasta every time they do something and they look at this jar, how the level of pasta is growing. So it might work with online. One of the other things that you can do, use the objects around you. For example, what's this?
A box? A box.
Do you think it's empty?
No, it isn't, obviously, no.
Oh, there is something. Can you guess what is in my box?
A soft toy? Judging from the sound, it's a soft toy.
Maybe, but you cannot say what it is. You can only ask me a question. Is it a?
Is it a stuffed toy?
No.
Is it a kind of jewelry?
No.
Doesn't sound like jewelry, yeah. Is it another sock? Is it Mr. Spot too?
No. No. You can ask me about shape and size. Okay, so what can I use this activity for? What do students practice?
Questions. Special questions, maybe? Yes. What color is it?
Yes, so any kind of questions, like where can you find it? Can you eat it? Questions with can, questions with is it? Questions with like, do you eat it? Do you like it? Do you wash it? I don't know, do you cook it? Any kinds of questions. Okay, I can show you what is in my box. What's this?
Okay, it's a carrot.
It's a carrot. So you can use anything that you have at home. Now this is the carrot. What's going to happen now?
It's going to become Mr. Carrot or Mrs. Carrot.
It's Mr. Carrot now. It can become your character, or you can actually ask students to bring you some piece of, I don't know, some vegetable or some fruit. It works very well with oranges and lemons and tangerines. So they can draw something. They can draw monsters. You can revise body parts like face features they can draw and so on. They can use these characters to speak, like ask Mr. Carrot what he did yesterday, because they don't care about what I did yesterday. They care about Mr. Carrot because he's a magic character. You can use huge fruit like grapefruit and have some dictation like, oh, so this is my monster. How many eyes do you want me to draw? Tell me the number.
Okay, 3.
3, okay, 3 eyes. 1, 2, 3. Okay, how many noses do you want on my monster?
1 would be proportional.
1?
In the middle, yes.
Okay, 1 in the middle. This is the
If
nose.
they know preposition, they will tell you where.
Yes, exactly. Okay, how many mouths?
1 mouth.
Is it a big mouth or a little mouth?
Bigger than the nose would be logical.
Okay, this is a big one. Okay, so you got the idea, right? So they can dictate to you, you can draw, you can dictate, they can draw.
Well, they can dictate to partners. Can they dictate to partners?
Exactly. First, you need to demonstrate the activity. They do it with you. Then.
And how old is that? 10, 12? Yeah.
Starting from 6.
Starting from 6.
They can draw. If they can say phrases, why not? Okay, what else you can do? You can actually, I'm going to show you something. Okay, look at me. Remember me. Remember it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Just a moment. What's different?
The scarf.
Yeah. What color is my scarf?
Violet and black.
It's pink or whatever. And yeah, okay. One more change. Remember me. What has changed?
Earphones.
Earmuffs.
Earmuffs.
Okay, so can you demonstrate this activity? Like I also prepared a shirt for you, but no time. So can you ask kids to prepare a couple of t-shirts or things And can you actually have some fun with clothes? Ask them to change something, like switch your camera for 5 seconds, change what you're wearing, turn on the camera, what has changed? Why not? So working at home, it gives you opportunity to exploit everything that the kids have at home. I also like the activity run and touch. I usually say run and touch something blue, run and touch something pink. I do it with materials like run and touch something plastic, run and touch something wooden, run and touch something electric, run and touch something that was bought in a shop. You can do the same. They can run and bring something to you and show you. Again, make sure that you don't have aggressive parents that will be unhappy that the kid is running in the house and, you know, bringing your mom's jewelry and showing you something gold. So be careful, but still exploit what kids have at home. You can see there is a wall. You can ask kids, you know, stick some pictures there or stick some words and say, run and touch this. They need to run and touch. If it's possible, because I have a wall, some kids do not. They might have some furniture and so on. If applicable, you can do that. You can actually use flashcards. And by the way, even if you forget you don't have flashcards, you can actually draw them. I drew this. So it's easy sometimes. You can use them for dictations. You can use them for TPR. By the way, I promised to demonstrate you TPR. So the topic is sea creatures. What animal is this?
Octopus.
Octopus.
Would be octopus, but octopus would be like this.
Star.
Starfish, yes. What animal is this?
A whale.
Yes, good. What animal is this?
A crab.
Yes.
Duck.
Yeah. Okay, so anything that you can think of, again, TPR, you know, works very well. You can do TPR in online lessons. Also, that's a good idea. Okay, I wanted to show you what you can do with teenagers as well, just a little bit. For example, if they have, sometimes it's difficult to monitor what they're doing when they have, but if they have their books, what I usually ask them to do, when they do some reading, I ask them to take a marker and highlight the answer to questions in the book. So I have a page. I ask them to highlight the sentences with the answers and show them to me. Can you actually monitor that they're doing the right thing if they show you the highlighted answers? Yeah, it's very easy to monitor what they're doing if you ask them to highlight something. So it works really, really well. Ask them to highlight in books and show them to you. Because with teens, they're very smart and it's difficult to control what they're doing. Okay, what else I wanted to show you today? So I showed you carrots, spots, and so on. What we can do, we have about 7 minutes to talk. You can ask me questions, and I have a little surprise for you. There is a promo code for you to use. So can you ask me questions now? I will answer, and then I will tell you for you.
What if the okay, preteens, more or less I can get how to manage them.
Yes.
They have these game rules and they want to play fair, but the teens, like from 12 to 16, what to do if they disobey, so like break the rules? What punishment would
you have to talk to them about the punishment as well. So they need to know what the punishment is. For example, in our case, in our school, if you don't do your homework, we can call the parents and they know about that. So the punishment, sometimes it depends on the group. I know a couple of groups where the teens are very cool and funny. They actually write down their own pieces of, like on the pieces of paper, they write down their own punishment for misbehaving or doing something, not doing homework. And there is a box. And it could be something like do 10 push-ups. Or like
silly, yeah?
Something like this. Yeah, something funny. Or stand on the chair and sing a song in English. And if they misbehave, they open the box, they just randomly take a piece of paper without looking, they have to do it. it doesn't work with everyone, yes, but the kids need to know exactly what's going to happen if they break a rule. They might not play a game that they like mine will not have a pillow fight, something like this. I prefer like, I don't know why, this is my personality. I believe in praising more than in punishing. And my punishment is you will not do what you like.
Yeah, that's natural.
Yes, that's natural thing. But I'm not very good at punishment. I can tell you the truth. I prefer.
That's the thing. I hate punishing. I just don't believe in people like have to be treated with punches to.
No. It doesn't mean. Come on, do not confuse strict rules with being strict. Strict rules. It means, guys, you have to do your homework. If you don't do your homework, we will have to call the parents. Something like this.
If you work individually, not in a group, individually, what punishment can you choose?
Okay, again, calling the parents. If your student really likes something, you can deprive your students of that. So it works really well. Okay, if you want to, I can tell you a little example. Again, when I was a school teacher, I had a very, very difficult group of school leavers, 11th class. And I had the first lesson on Friday. Can you imagine them coming on the first lesson on Friday to school in spring? I found the way, actually. They really liked, I prepared for them the song that they liked, and I made it a gap fill, and they loved it. And I know a couple of students who came to that first lesson for the Friday song. After that, they came back home to sleep. Yes, I'm not telling you that I always had success with all the groups that I had, but I'm sharing something that worked really well in some of the cases.
Behaving has a lot to do with the motivation. So mostly it has,
exactly.
It has everything to do with the motivation. So to prevent,
come on, rules are not motivation. Rules is I can do that.
Yeah, I understand.
That. Yes, yeah. They
I mean
have to be motivated. Like, can you? Okay, can you do anything if you have no motivation? You always have some motivation. I have to do it. So there could be extrinsic motivation, like my parents will kill you, I will not enter the university. Intrinsic, I like it.
I don't really believe in external because
I do, because when
no one is afraid of the parents.
I believe in that because I'm a trainer, and when the deadlines start, you know, choking me.
That's because you're a responsible person. Some parents don't care for their children. Even if you call, they just handle it like this. Okay, I give you my child, you teach him. I don't care about this. So parents are not really.
Okay, then you have to win the trust of the kids.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yes, again, I cannot say that I always did it with everyone. I had really bad cases as well, but sometimes, well, they have to trust you, you have to show care. For example, again, I had a kid, like she was a preteen, she was, I think, 12, and she always came to school hungry because her parents were in the middle of divorce and no one fed her in the morning. Could feed her, and I always like for some period of time I gave her some food to eat just because I knew she was hungry. I knew she wouldn't eat, like she didn't feel like stomachache or something, but I knew she was hungry. Because of that, she couldn't concentrate. I always gave her something to eat, and she really she trusted me because of that, and she felt that I cared about her. It doesn't mean that you have to feed all your kids. But I'm trying to say that sometimes it has nothing to do with learning or teaching. Sometimes this is the normal, like human care. Yes. Yeah. Okay. A lot of kids are neglected. A lot of kids are, they live in the family where the parents are in the middle of divorce or terrible relationship, or they can be some geeks, crazy people. If they want, like, if they can get that care from you, it doesn't mean that it doesn't work with everyone. Some of them, they never open to you, but sometimes it works really well. Just showing that you care. That's.
I've had a student whom I didn't have the luck with, and then she actually eventually she left studying. I'm not sure. Well, I'm sure she left studying because she actually didn't want to study, and the only people who want her to go to this school were the parents. But I tried to get through, but nothing worked. She like kept pushing me away. I don't need this studying. I don't need everything. I forgot my books again. I left them at home. I had no time because I had some sports, some practice, because she was overbooked with studying, you know, it's 13 years old, pushy parents, you have to study. Perhaps she was already over trying and pushing too hard. Okay, you want English? Okay, I'm doing enough. I can't do more. So I don't care.
You have to camouflage the learning into something else.
Well, when I did that, she actually did some playing. It was not so often, but she did play. But as soon as we got to the books, we have to do some exercises, right? So
yes,
she was okay. I don't know. I don't remember. I have no books, or I just don't want to work. I don't know. You know, I don't know. Don't touch me. I don't know. If you don't know, nobody.
This is that's a serious problem. It's like more like psychological problem. I think she's overwhelmed with something.
Maybe she's, no matter how hard she's trying, everyone else is still, she's still not satisfying everyone around. Maybe
she doesn't live up for expectation to expectation. Oh,
perhaps her own, perhaps her parents, you know, too much. And no matter how hard she tries.
Well,
to the next question about praising. Yeah, you said if the kid tries really hard, but you can't like give the sticker only because he tried. But if you have like 10 kids and 9 of them are more or less of the same level, but one can be really struggling.
No. I mean, no. Don't get me wrong. If you say, yes, you didn't do it perfectly, but you did try hard, and the other kids understand that this kid has tried hard, this sticker will be well deserved, that they will not mind. It depends on the situation in the group. Yes.
At school, well, my daughter, no matter how hard she tries, the teacher never gives her like this excellent mark, because she's always very like, something untidy, something messy, but the answer is always correct. And my daughter does not understand, like, okay, why is this not with me? No, if everything is fine, everything is better than it used to be. I think we should praise the children for comparing them to the level they were before, not to all the other children.
You cannot compare the children to the other children. I understand you, and I never do that myself, because I had the same situation when I was a school child. Like when you have a maths problem, you solve it right. But because I remember that I wrote like хлопчик отримав 4 яблука. I wrote the word хлопчик from the capital letter because to me he was a person. And my teacher put me a bad mark because I had to use I remember I've had a lot of experiences like this when I was a school child, and I never ever do that to my children. I understand you.
So we should evaluate children according to their progress, to what they were and to what they have become, not to everyone else, because everyone is individual.
Yes, I totally agree with you. I don't know how to make all the people do that.
Well, I'm just asking about my children.
Yes, right.
I've managed with my daughter. But...
And unfortunately, yes, no matter what you say to your child, you cannot comfort, because to her, like the teacher, she didn't put a good mark. I don't know. This is the trauma. And yeah. On the other hand, I don't know how to deal with that. I don't know.
No, I'm just asking about the daughter. I just told her, well, she actually doesn't really like care a lot about marks. She's not not that critical. I'm asking about my students. Like I've had some of the learners who never achieve like the level. Okay, you say 5 sentences correct. And
okay, no. It doesn't mean that you always have to praise for only the excellent work.
Yeah, that's what
you have to praise for the really great effort. And I did it in my kids' class, and I almost never had problems with that. I only had problems if there was a really bad relationship in class and I couldn't change it. But if it's okay, the other students, they don't mind. They think that, yeah, I agree that it's well deserved.
Not for the excellence, but for
exactly. So again, we have in our classes, we never have children with the same ability, never, ever. They are mixed ability. They are, they have very different speed, very different perception preferences. We cannot use the same, we cannot. So we have to, we have to praise them. We have to praise them according to their individual achievements, definitely. So even I work now in a language school. I still, although we test kids, they are more or less of the same level. They're still so different. So that's why it's, yeah, that's just, you have to be reasonable. So I believe in common sense. Yes, okay.
On one more thing, you asked, you said address the needs of the students and talk about things that are relevant. Relevant to interests, okay, but address the needs of the students.
Okay, I can give you an example. Your kids, imagine that you make your kids write an email. And they never do that. They only
text. No, kids, no.
I mean teenagers.
Yeah, teenagers.
How relevant is that? Like, write, напиши листа другу.
No, they don't write. Maybe Viber text.
You have to write a message to a friend, write a blog entry, something like this. On the one hand. On the other hand, you need to think what is relevant to them. If it's a letter of complaint, talk to them, for example, about if it's important, if you prepare them for FC, talk to them, guys, have you been to Egypt? Have you always been happy with your hotel? Have you ever had a bad shower that fell on your head? I had once, or something like that. And if you can say, like, your parents, do all your parents speak English? No, so next time you come to Egypt, you will be the one who will write a letter of complaint. So again, doesn't work every time like this, but for some kids, this is a good motivation. So it has to be relevant to them. What's the point talking about TV programs with teenagers?
They don't watch TV. Serious.
In Kiev, definitely no. They watch TV in some other, because I'm an examiner, I sometimes travel all over Ukraine. In smaller cities, they do watch TV. But in Kiev,
they watch blogs, YouTube.
Yes, exactly. Serious. So you have to ask something about something that is relevant to them. So they will not talk to you about the music that you like. You have to ask them about what they like. It doesn't mean you have to be the expert, but you have to ask them. So this is what I mean. It has to be relevant. You have to address their needs, what they like, what they need to learn. Again, you have to praise them. You have to show them their progress and say, you remember you couldn't do this like 2 months ago. Now you can write a blog entry. So it doesn't work always. There are cases, but if you do that, the learning will be much better than if you don't. There will always be some problems, teenagers. You will find clues to them or you will not. Let's face it, we do not always crack the problem teenagers. I've had a lot of myself, like when I had problems and I couldn't really address them well. And there were really good cases, and I'm very happy about those cases. I'm very happy every time I helped someone a little bit. So just try to do your best. It's better than not to. So this is like what we can do. Okay. Do you have any other questions, guys? Well, while you're thinking about the questions, let me show you one more thing, because I have a promo code for you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm having a lesson in
okay, Elizabeth,
thank you so much. Very fruitful webinar. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Guys, I have a promo code for you because at Great Education Center, we provide teacher training because like you can take CELTA, CELP, CELTAS, TKT. And if you use a promo code, it's here, it's Osvitoria friend. You can have a 5% discount for CELTA, that is very cool, and 10% for its CELP, CELTAS, and TKT courses. So please feel free to use this. You can take a screenshot if you're interested. Just take it because you might use it later, because you never know when you need it. And 10%, this is a good thing, like why not save some money? Just a couple of words. At Grade, we actually provide a lot of teacher training. You can take CELTA, Delta, CELTP, CELTAS in our courses. We have a lot of training programs, so you can find from Webinar to Delta. So please visit our website. We have a Telegram channel, a Great Teacher Training. There are lots of events. You can join it as well and like watch us, follow us, see what's going on. You can also take TKT preparation if you're interested, CELTP or CELTAS. So And if you work at schools and you don't know about this, we're the biggest exam center. The only platinum one in Ukraine. If you are interested in taking exams, or if your schools are interested, we offer different kinds of partnerships. So please, it's okay to visit our site. It's okay to call us and ask. So we'll be very happy to work with you, like in any way, either teacher training or exam preparation, partnerships. Use the promo code, use the opportunity, because you might need it. Like, you never know what's going to happen in the months, life changes. So it's a good idea to save some money. So guys, you can ask me questions. If you don't have questions, here are my contacts. My name is Lydia Simak. I work at Great Education Center as a director of studies and as a teacher trainer. So you can all write me an email, or you can call our center if you have questions. Please feel free to do so. Be very happy to help. Yes, you can ask me if you have any other questions. Please feel free to ask in the chat or unmute and say.
Okay, thank you very much. And do you have some tips how to work, how to teach your own kids? Because now I'm working with possible. I'm working with other kids,
yes.
It's okay, but with my own, it's impossible.
I've never had a good positive teaching experience with any of my relatives or friends. Sorry.
Yeah, I see. So everything is okay with me, I think.
And also one more thing, I can give you an example. Like my husband, he's been taking FCE preparation. I will tell you a little secret. I am an FCE speaking examiner. He never ever asked me a question. I said, you have an FCE examiner at home. I can tell you some secrets. I can help you prepare. Just ask me. Do you think he did that once?
He doesn't want to spoil your relationships.
No, I'm just at home is at home. I'm not an authority for him. I'm not a teacher for him. His teacher at school, at a language school, is the authority. I'm not the authority. I'm the wife who cooks borscht. I'm sorry. So you see, and to you, like to your kid, you're a mom. And if you can teach your kid, so that is very cool. But unfortunately, like being realistic, never happened, never worked for me and my family. So Tatiana, sorry, I cannot help you here.
And to hire a good teacher.
Yes. By the way, it's easier. Sometimes it's just easier to hire a teacher, like when your kid knows that they're, you know, in a lesson and they cannot like say, Mom, can I have, I don't know, a sandwich, or can I have some water? And maybe, so it's just relax and be mom, and at home have some rest. Probably enjoy being with kids, not teaching them. Again, depends. Some people can do it. I can't. So don't blame yourself if you cannot.
I should work with other kids to earn money for my daughter.
Something like this, right? So Tatiana, don't feel bad if you cannot do that, because like when I hear people saying, you have an English teacher in the family, why don't you speak English at home? I said, why should I speak English at home? I have spoken English all day at work. Give me some rest. Guys, I don't have to speak English to my family.
Just to be mom.
Exactly, to be mom or to be a wife. It's like when they say like this, I say, okay, I don't know, whoever you are, like I talk about their professions and I say, why don't you do that at home? Mm-hmm. Why should I do this? Why should I continue working when I'm home? I'm sorry, I'm not at work. I don't have to speak English to anyone. I don't have to make anyone if they don't want to. So don't feel bad about yourself. Enjoy life. Okay.
Thank you very much. It was very interesting.
Thank you very much, Tatiana. Thank you. Okay. So ladies and gentlemen, if you don't have any questions, I have actually overused a little bit of your time. So I think we have to say goodbye. It was very nice to meet you. Olga, nice to meet you today.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, I don't know who else is here, so I will try to see. Maybe there are more familiar faces. So thank you very much. I hope you've heard something useful today. Please continue the good work. Don't feel sad if something doesn't work. We've all had bad experience. Continue, stay motivated, continue the good work. There will be ups and downs, it's okay. Just enjoy what you're doing and, you know, take care about your students. Use the techniques, still remember about, you know, being humanistic and compassionate and sympathetic.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
very much. Okay, I don't know what I should do now. Maybe I need to, so there is a host here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Should I do anything now?
Yeah, and have a great evening. I stop recording.
So I can just turn my Zoom off, right? Okay, bye everyone. Bye-bye. Nice to see you all. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.